Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when words become powerless and silence becomes our greatest strength. In a world where everyone wants to speak, to react, to argue, and to prove their point, silence often stands as the most underrated yet powerful response. We live in a time of constant noise, verbal, digital, emotional. Amidst this chaos, silence is not just an absence of sound, but a presence of control, wisdom, and dignity. Silence is often misunderstood as a sign of passivity or surrender, especially in situations where confrontation or argument is expected. Society tends to glorify the loud, the outspoken, and the assertive, often overlooking the quiet strength that lies in self-restraint. But true strength is not always about speaking out. Sometimes it's about holding back, choosing silence in the face of provocation, especially when one has every reason to react, is a profound demonstration of emotional intelligence. It requires immense inner stability to remain silent when the natural instinct is to retaliate or justify oneself. The ability to remain silent during conflict is not about fear or submission. It's about confidence. People who know their worth do not feel the need to prove it through arguments. They understand that not every accusation demands a reply, and not every insult deserves acknowledgement. Their silence reflects an unshakable belief in themselves. In fact, many wise individuals across history and cultures have practiced silence as a discipline, understanding that speaking less often leads to greater understanding and respect. It takes courage and conviction to respond with silence, especially when the world expects a loud reaction. Furthermore, silence allows a person to conserve their energy and maintain control over a situation. When one reacts emotionally, they often lose clarity, and their words may betray their true intentions or cause further misunderstanding. Silence, on the other hand, provides a buffer, a moment of pause that prevents escalation. It keeps the individual anchored, while others may spiral into impulsive reactions. This self-contained is not just a personal strength, but also a powerful way to influence others. Often, silence causes the other person to reflect on their own behavior and rethink their stance. In relationships, professional settings, or even public debates, silence can be a strategic tool. Leaders, thinkers, and even negotiators understand the importance of knowing when to stay silent. It draws attention, creates anticipation, and often commands more respect than constant talking. In moments where emotions run high or stakes are critical, silence becomes a calm force, steady and powerful. Those who master the art of silence exude confidence without arrogance and power without aggression. They show the world that real strength does not always roar. Sometimes it remains quiet and unshaken. They earn great control until quick solution to resolve to excel. They show the world that remains quiet, unshaken. Negativity is an inevitable part of life. It comes in the form of criticism, insults, rumors, and even baseless accusations. In such moments, our immediate reaction might be to defend ourselves, to speak out, or to argue. However, silence often proves to be the most impactful and dignified response. When faced with negativity, choosing to remain silent can send a louder and clearer message than any words possibly could. It shows that we do not give value to hate, that we refuse to engage in toxic exchanges, and that we are above the pettiness of pointless confrontation. Responding to negativity with silence is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it reflects a higher level of awareness and self-control. It demonstrates that we are not easily shaken by external chaos or the opinions of others. People who thrive on negativity often seek reactions. They feed off emotional responses, arguments, and conflict. When they are met with silence, it disrupts their intention and unsettles them. Silence robs them of the satisfaction they seek, and instead turns the attention back onto their own behavior. It is a quiet yet powerful way of reclaiming control in difficult interactions. Moreover, silence helps preserve one's mental peace. Engaging in arguments or trying to prove a point to someone who is committed to misunderstanding us only drains our energy. Silence in this context acts as a boundary, a protective barrier that shields us from emotional harm. It allows us to stay centered and focused on what truly matters, rather than getting entangled in negativity that does nothing but pull us down. By not reacting, we refuse to give others the power to disturb our inner calm. We show that we are not reactive, but reflective, that we prioritize peace over pride. In today's world, where online platforms have amplified negativity through comments, posts, and messages, silence is an essential tool for mental and emotional well-being. Choosing not to reply to hateful remarks, avoiding unnecessary debates, or simply walking away from toxic environments speaks volumes about our priorities and self-respect. Silence communicates in its own quiet way that we will not allow negativity to dictate our behavior. It teaches us to rise above, to act with grace, and to understand that sometimes the absence of a reaction is the most powerful answer we can give. In a fast-paced world where instant reactions are valued more than thoughtful responses, silence offers us the rare opportunity to reflect deeply. When we choose to stay silent, we allow ourselves the space to pause, to breathe, and to think more clearly. This moment of quiet introspection enables us to examine our thoughts, understand our emotions, and consider the consequences of our actions. Silence clears the clutter of impulsive thoughts and creates room for genuine understanding. It helps us slow down in moments when speed can lead to mistakes or misunderstandings. Reflection through silence is especially important during emotional situations. When we're angry, hurt, or confused, our words can be driven by raw emotion rather than reason. In such times, silence gives us the chance to process our feelings before we express them. It encourages emotional maturity by helping us choose our responses wisely, rather than react in ways we might regret later. That is asks Christians like what it was like for you. All you doing that is asked to explore or making an important decision. Silence allows us to engage in a dialogue. What is the right course of action? Moreover, silence encourages mindfulness. It brings us into the present moment, away from the distractions of external noise and digital chaos. In silence, we are more in tune with ourselves and our surroundings. This heightened awareness leads to greater clarity in self-circumstancing. It can reveal insights that may not surface in the midst of constant chatter and distraction. Many spiritual and philosophical traditions have long embraced silence as a path to enlightenment and wisdom. Through silence, we hear not only the world around us, but also the quiet voice within, the one that is often drowned out in the rush of life. In conversations, silence can also be used as a tool for deeper listening and understanding of others. Rather than jumping in with opinions or responses, staying silent allows us to fully absorb what the other person is saying. It shows that we value their words and are giving them the space to be heard. This kind of silence builds stronger connections and prevents misunderstandings. It makes our eventual response more informed and empathetic. In this way, silence doesn't isolate us. It actually strengthens communication by allowing thoughtful reflection to guide our words. In a world where speaking up is often celebrated, the value of simply observing tends to be overlooked. Yet silence gives us a powerful advantage, the ability to observe with heightened clarity. When we choose not to speak, we become more attuned to the environment around us. We start to notice subtle cues, body language, tones of words. This level of awareness cannot be achieved when we are too focused on formulating responses or dominating conversations. Silence, therefore, becomes a doorway to deeper insight and understanding. When we are silent, we listen more, not just to others, but also to the underlying truths hidden between the lines. This attentive listening makes us better learners, both in formal education and in everyday life. Instead of rushing to answer or interrupt, we allow ourselves the chance to fully absorb the information being shared. This makes our knowledge richer, our responses more thoughtful, and our communication more effective. Silence in this context sharpens our ability to think critically and engage meaningfully with the world around us. In professional settings, silence can be especially powerful. During meetings, interviews, or negotiations, staying silent at key moments allows us to gauge reactions, understand motivations, and recognize patterns that may go unnoticed by those too eager to speak. It helps in gathering knowledge not just from what is said, but from what is left unsaid. Leaders and innovators often practice silence to listen to diverse viewpoints before making impactful decisions. By prioritizing observation over immediate reaction, they cultivate a deeper understanding of complex situations and make wiser choices. Furthermore, silence cultivates patience, a crucial trait for anyone seeking to grow intellectually or emotionally. It teaches us that not every moment needs to be filled with sound or activity. Through silent observation, we develop curiosity and a willingness to learn without rushing. This patience allows us to engage more deeply with our interests, whether it's reading, studying, or simply understanding human nature. Ultimately, silence trains the mind to be more receptive and attentive, turning everyday experiences into valuable lessons. Through silence, we transform into more thoughtful observers, and lifelong learners. In times of emotional distress, silence can act as a comforting sanctuary where healing begins. When the world feels overwhelming, when pain, confusion, anger, or sadness cloud the mind, words often fail to provide relief. In such moments, silence becomes a gentle refuge, allowing individuals to sit with their emotions without the pressure of explanation or justification. It creates a space where one can process feelings at their own pace, free from external judgment or interference. Unlike spoken words, silence doesn't demand action. It simply allows for presence, which is often the first step toward emotional recovery. Emotional turmoil often triggers a desire to speak out, to vent, or to seek validation.
Stop sama laba-laba.
Graph to prepare emotional turmoil often triggers a self-evaluation rather than external oppression. This understanding brings clarity, and with clarity comes the ability to find inner calm. Silence, then, is not a void. It is a vessel that holds our rawest emotions until we are ready to transform them into strength. Moreover, silence helps regulate emotional responses. In moments of anger or sadness, impulsive words can damage relationships and worsen situations. By choosing silence, we give ourselves a buffer, a pause that protects us from making emotionally charged decisions or saying things we might later regret. This kind of pause is not avoidance but wisdom. It allows the intensity of the emotion to settle before we take action. Over time, this practice of pausing in silence helps develop greater emotional resilience and stability. It reinforces the idea that not all problems need immediate verbal solutions. Some simply need time and quiet to dissolve. In times of grief or loss, silence can be the most honest and respectful expression of emotion. No words can truly capture the depth of sorrow, and attempts to articulate pain can sometimes feel hollow. Silence, however, speaks volumes. It communicates empathy, presence, and solidarity. Whether shared in a moment of mourning with others or experienced in solitude, silence has the weight of the loss in a way that speech often cannot. It is in these silent moments that the soul finds comfort, not through noise or explanation, but through stillness, allowing emotions to settle like dust after a storm. Success, while empowering, can easily lead to pride or arrogance if not handled with grace. In moments of achievement, silence serves as a grounding force that reminds us to remain humble. When we resist the urge to boast or seek constant validation, we demonstrate that our confidence lies not in external praise, but in internal satisfaction. Silence after success doesn't diminish the value of accomplishment. Instead, it elevates it. It shows that we are secure enough in our achievements that we do not need to announce them loudly. This quiet dignity often speaks louder than any declaration of victory. People who carry their success silently often command greater respect. Their silence reflects not only confidence, but also a deep understanding of the journey that brought them to success, the struggles, failures, and lessons along the way. They know that every triumph is built on the foundation of effort and humility, not entitlement. By remaining silent, they keep the focus on the work rather than on themselves. This fosters a culture of respect, where others are inspired by their actions rather than overwhelmed by their self-promotion. Silence becomes a subtle yet powerful tool of leadership and influence. Furthermore, silence in success prevents us from belittling others, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Celebrating achievements without unnecessary noise allows those around us to feel valued and not diminished. It creates space for others to shine as well, encouraging collective growth rather than personal glorification. Humility, nurtured through silence, promotes stronger relationships, trust, and collaboration. People are drawn to those who remain approachable despite their accomplishments. And silence plays a crucial role in maintaining that openness and humility. In addition, silence helps us reflect on the true meaning of success. When we pause and refrain from speaking, we create the mental and emotional space to consider what our achievements truly signify. Is it personal growth, the overcoming of a challenge, a contribution to something greater than ourselves? Silence invites us to look beyond trophies and titles and to appreciate the internal transformation success brings. It reminds us that real victory lies not just in reaching a goal, but in the quiet strength with which we carry ourselves afterward. Silence has a profound way of communicating dignity, a sense of self-respect that transcends spoken language. When a person remains silent in the face of chaos, disrespect, or provocation, they do not appear weak. Instead, they exude strength and composure. Dignity is not always about defending oneself with words or asserting dominance through argument. Sometimes it is about preserving grace, holding one's head high, and choosing silence as a response. This kind of silence is deliberate and thoughtful, and it often leaves a lasting impression on others, far more than an angry outburst or a defensive justification. In difficult social situations, silence can be more powerful than speech. For instance, when someone is being unfairly accused or disrespected, answering back may only prolong the conflict or lower the individual to the level of their accuser. But a dignified silence communicates boundaries. It silently states that the person refuses to be pulled into meaningless disputes. It reflects a sense of control over one's emotions and reactions. People who maintain silence in these moments show that their self-worth is not dependent on others' opinions. This quiet confidence earns admiration and reinforces their integrity. Silence also communicates wisdom and patience, both qualities deeply connected to dignity. Instead of reacting impulsively or speaking just to be heard, dignified silence shows that one is willing to listen, to wait, and to think deeply before responding, or to choose not to respond at all. In this way, silence becomes a statement of maturity. It allows individuals to observe the situation fully, consider the perspectives of others, and act only when necessary. This kind of silence is respected across cultures and generations. This kind of silence is respected across cultures and emotional balance. Moreover, silence in moments of injustice or misunderstanding can be a powerful stand, not of surrender, but of self-assurance. When we do not allow others' negativity to provoke a verbal reaction, we demonstrate that our peace cannot be disturbed by external circumstances. This inner strength is at the core of personal dignity. By not participating in petty arguments or unnecessary defenses, we show that we value our time, energy, and emotional well-being. Silence in this way becomes an act of self-respect, a non-verbal expression that rises above the noise, reminding others and ourselves that dignity doesn't shout. It simply stands firm in quiet confidence. In a world overwhelmed by noise, silence emerges as a quiet force, strong, wise, and deeply human. It teaches us when to speak and when to pause, when to defend and when to rise above. Through silence, we gain clarity, preserve our dignity, and nurture peace within ourselves and with others. Let us not underestimate the value of this powerful tool. Sometimes the most profound answer is found not in what we say, but in what we choose not to say. Silence, when chosen with purpose, the most eloquent response of all.